Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Cup of Joe. I'm Liz Rossell with Sea Level Social, and I'm joined by Kern Halls of Ingenious Culinary Concepts and Joe Pettit of Joe Pettit Inspires. And we're really excited to bring this episode to you today. We're going to be a little bit more interactive with each other today, too. So we hope you enjoy this sort of slightly edited format. But for today, we want to definitely tap into what's happening right now in school nutrition, immediately what you're experiencing, and what we're seeing across the board is the need to stay positive throughout schools reopening. I can see it with working with my own clients, the panic, the fear, the nerves that so many parents have, especially right now. And God bless them, it feels like districts so many can't win for losing because they cannot please everyone. So keeping parents calm, and showing that you're excited to see the students again and want to start the school year on a positive note, we thought would be something that everyone could use right now. And specifically, we want to talk about managing parents, their expectations and their kind of how they're feeling right now. So with that, we're going to just jump right into this conversation, and I'll pass it over to Joe.
Yeah, thanks Liz and Kern. Good to be back on. And as we are going into, we pre-record these sessions. I'm sure you all are aware of that. But we are days and weeks away from some schools' start dates. I know some states are doing it differently. Here for Charleston, as we record this, we actually have our board meeting tomorrow when we record this. So big decisions coming out to how to really help our parents. And honestly, the thing to remember is that there's no one size fits all. There's going to be nothing that we can say, nothing that we can do that sets everybody at ease. I mean, that's really nothing new for us in school nutrition or as a school district employee, because honestly, you can never have a one size fits all. There's always going to be someone who wants it done this way or done that way. But as a parent, I will tell you what I'm looking for. And really what I'm looking for as a parent is to just let me know the steps that you're taking. Over-communicate. Now, don't send me 5 surveys, okay? But over-communicate with what the process is. Let me see. This is the time to be extremely transparent. That word was thrown out a lot several years back about transparency in government, transparency in the workplace. We need to be, as school districts, we need to be as transparent as possible. Let those folks have buy-in, and then listen to their buy-in, because a lot of times they have the best solution. So as a parent, the way you're going to keep me at bay is give me choices, and then also just be over the top transparent in how you communicate. And honestly, the last thing I'll kind of just throw out there for us to talk about is really just control what you can control. And that's you. Control what you can control, because the things that are coming our way are going to be so hard to really give the best answers, because as I told somebody the other day, the best part about this is that we're all doing this for the first time. So we're all in it together. The worst part is that we're all doing this for the first time. So there's going to be a lot of trial and error with this.
So I want to kind of pass this along to Kern, but insert my own question here. Is I've seen, I don't know if either of you have seen, some school districts are doing like focus groups with parents to get them, to get, the biggest part I love about it is getting their buy-in from this whole process, but they're having very small focus groups like through the planning process. So I guess, Kern, have you heard any of your clients doing this? But I know you at Ingenious Culinary Concepts, you're big fans of student focus groups and talking to students. So if someone isn't doing focus groups, can you give some tips on how to coordinate that? I know it's a little late in the game by the time this is published, but it certainly doesn't hurt to engage a few parents, I'm sure.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, Liz, and you're right. It's good to hear feedback, because there's one thing of coming back to school, right? But then on the food side of it, it's like, okay, how are these students going to be fed? Classroom? Are they coming to pick the food up at the school? Like, it's so many things in the air right now that we don't even know. So simple things that I think that parents, and not just parents, but a food service department can do is send out free tools like SurveyMonkey, maybe just like a Google Doc or some kind of link to fill out and get feedback based on what your board is going to do. Like Joe was just saying, our board just voted on Friday to start school on the 21st of August. But you have 3 different formats of how you can do it. So they submitted plans to the state We have to get approval. We have to figure it out. But also just as a company, as we're feeding students, I'm also a parent, right? So I have one son in college, one going to high school. And he's itching just as a teenager. He wants to go see his friends. He's like, I'm ready to go to school. And I'm like, I'm going to put you in a plastic bag and send you to school, right? So it's kind of like, we got to figure out and see how we're going to get this stuff done, because it has to have a lot of safety measures. And I was fortunate to hang out with my mentor earlier this week. And, he always gives me wisdom. He said, okay, what's the risk reward, right? So if I send my son to school, what's the best thing can happen? If I send my son to school, what's the worst thing that can happen, right? And then he asked me, can you live with it? Right. And I'm just like, And I think about the worst case scenario, which I don't have to say it, but I'm just like, I'm not gonna be able to live with that decision. So I have to find some kind of balance between me and my wife and just everything to get things going. But you have to make sure, even as a parent, as a business owner, how can we make everybody feel comfortable enough? And that's a great thing what Joe was saying, just over communicate, and we just have a plan, because this is nothing that we ever could have dreamed of happening.
Yeah, absolutely. So one thing that I'm glad both of you touched on, over communicate. One thing I was working with one of my clients on is they were doing amazing at over communicating and keeping parents in the loop on social media. But what was happening was parents felt like, oh, I'm getting not too much information, but it was in different posts and they didn't know where to go to find it. So what they did was they had, and it was funny, I came with this idea, they already had it, they were on top of it, but an FAQ document, and it's just a simple Google Doc that they update, and it's there, and we're gonna mark when it's been revised, but it's a Google Doc that is every frequently asked questions, so that parents have a central location. So if you are over communicating, also make sure you have a central location for them to find these answers. Joe, what else you got? I know you got some more.
Yeah, so, as really as Kern was, well, no, as Kern was talking and you threw out a great question, even though when you see this, it may be after the decision's been made. But we also, let's be for real. It's not if, it's when. When is it going to happen again where we have to go 100% virtual? And even if we don't, let's say that we don't, still set up those focus. It is never too late to set up an ongoing focus group with your parents, because we're talking about over communicating and getting buy-in, and then being transparent about how you selected the people who are in the student focus groups. Giving people a chance, whether it's digitally, whether it's in person, however the case may be, for parents to have some type of say, or send an email or phone calls. But I guess what I'm really wanting to say is make sure that it's ongoing. Just because you missed the July deadline, you can still have these, because you need to hear from them. And as we talk about all the time in the Cup of Joe episodes, and we talk about how to pivot, if you, as a district, be real, if you weren't doing a good job of really getting buy-in from parents, this is the pivot. This is be opportunistic. Take the opportunity and then try something. Just try it. What's the worst? Back to that risk, scenario. What's the worst thing that's going to come out of having parent groups? Nothing. So I just say go for it. Go for it. It's never too late. I don't care if you watch this on a replay back in February 2021 and you don't have them, go get them.
And I got a quick question. So Liz, I got a question for you, Liz. So what is the easier way that a parent or a school district, right? So if a school district cannot reach a parent, of course, they're gonna have to be virtually. Can they reach out do a survey via social media, or what other platforms can they use to reach out to the parents to get their feedback?
I love a Google form. SurveyMonkey is great too. The thing that I don't love about SurveyMonkey is it has ads for the free service if you're using it. So the ads kind of get a little clunky, where a Google form is nice and clean. You're focusing right on the question. Those I love. You can do very quick polls on social media, on Twitter for sure, on Instagram stories, and on Facebook as well, I believe. You can do quick polls, but again, those are, I would do something a little bit more formal in a Google Doc. I would communicate that with administrative staff, make sure they're sharing it. One thing I'm seeing with our clients that we manage their social media is those PTO Facebook groups, the athletics Facebook groups, they're sharing stuff left and right. It's just really helping get the child nutrition message out there. So I would definitely do both of those. As far as the focus groups, I was going to say, everybody's used to Zoom now. We're all used to this virtual conferencing. So getting a handful of parents is not going to be difficult at all. And one thing I wanted to mention before we kind of wrap up was in a recent mastermind meetup I had with Christine Clarahan at School City of Hammond, she did something that I thought was amazing, but I'm not going to lie, it's time. It's going to be your time. But if she has post something on their Facebook page, which is where most of their audience is, and she gets a comment, she goes back and forth with the parent on comments, maybe they're being negative, whatever, she will private message them as well to just follow up and say, did I answer your question? Do you have any other questions? And maybe they don't respond, but it's that personal touch. And it gives her a chance to also educate them, like invite them, usually she would invite them to the school to have lunch with her or have a call her. But I know that's extra time to do that Facebook message and talk to the parent like that. But like both Kern and Joe have said, this is the whole point of this, is to turn those what could be negative parents, what could be scared parents, nervous, it's turning them into, okay, I understand what the district's doing. They are looking at the health of my student. They are concerned about it. They're doing the best they can. And I'm going to work with them, not against them. So that's the whole point of this episode, really. So what I'd like to do is kind of wrap this one up. We want to do a next episode and talk about how to communicate with your team to make sure they're feeling safe when they're coming back to school. But for Joe and Kern, final thoughts that you'd like to share. Kern, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I just say continue to communicate. Liz, reaching out to folks, and Joe, as parents, work with the school district to see if you can send out some kind of survey via, they have all the email lists, the cell phone numbers, just send something out just to kind of get a gauge of the feeling of how the students are going to eat and be fed, and just get feedback from the parents. And that's pretty much it. Just continue to communicate with the parents as much as you can. Joe?
And I'll add to that, Kern, once you do that survey, and if you close it, whatever, if you keep it open for a while, share the results on your website, on social media, share those results and let them know, okay, this was what parents thought. And then also, if you still want to chime in, here's the link.
Yeah, that's good. And that goes back to that over communicating side, just showing them, well, what were the results of what everybody said. That's a really, really great idea, Liz. I think, honestly, the other part of it is understand that when you're talking and when you have children, you get it. There's nobody that cares and protects and covers my child the way that my wife and I do, or any of our children. So understand you cannot debate somebody's passion and emotion. Don't get into that. Just understand that that is their child and they have to be responsible for them. And as the district, you have all of that responsibility in your hands, and just try to set them at ease by communicating, by being transparent, reaching out, getting feedback. And you know what? I think, honestly, we're going to look back 2 years from now and be like, I can't believe it was that serious. I really do feel that way. So hopefully that's the way we're all looking back in 2022.
And I'll offer to anybody watching, if you need any help with Google Forms, using them as a survey, just contact me directly. We'll put my contact info in the description. We'll certainly help you get that all set up and good to go. Thank you, Joe and Kern. I think this has been really great, really helpful, especially very timely. And we're looking forward to the next episode where the whole series of Cup of Joe has really been about keeping your team motivated. But as we have now honed in on the new school year, of really more fine-tuned message specifically to reopening. So thank you so much for watching, and we hope you all have a great day.